Welcome back. Thanks again for joining us. Now, a quick correction. Throughout the course of the morning, we've been saying that Oscar Pistorius allegedly shot and killed Reeva Steenkamp, I should say. That allegation is incorrect. The fact is that there was a shooting on that day and that Oscar Pistorius did kill Reeva Steenkamp. The only thing that's alleged is whether or not it was murder. So just to clarify that one, the allegation is not on the killing, but the allegation is on the murder. And of course, Judge Masipa to decide on whether or not it was premeditated and whether or not it was murder or whether it was an act of negligence. We'll find out all that and more throughout the course of, not today, I think we're not expecting a verdict today, possibly tomorrow, about 2 days, give or take, or few, is that when we can hear Judge Masipa giving out her final verdict. But that's just one of the things we're having to learn, where to put that allegedly, just some legalese for you. And another thing that we've had to learn about is, of course, DNA analysis and where that fits in when it comes to crime. Now, since the beginning of the Oscar Pistorius trial, DNA evidence has been playing a very crucial role in determining whether or not he planned to kill Reeva Steenkamp. Tampering of evidence may lead to relying on the opinions of people who believe to have seen or heard anything when a murder happens. And of course, we will never forget those blood spatters and the testimony thereof. Well, to talk us through that and more, and the role that forensic evidence plays at crime scenes, is David Swanepoel. He is a trainer at DNA Project. David, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Amanda. Thank you for having me.
Firstly, perhaps you can talk us through the definition of forensic evidence. What do you mean by forensic evidence?
Sure, yeah, Amanda, yes. Forensic evidence is basically any clues that you could possibly find at a crime scene and surrounding areas that would basically give you one of two things, or two different things. It'll give you an indication as to who the perpetrator of that crime is, and it will also tell you the events that surround that crime. So it's very important that this evidence is preserved in its entirety so that you can answer those two questions, as clearly as possible. Because when a crime is committed, there's someone who needs to be held account for it, and that evidence needs to pinpoint a specific person or people who did that crime. The events that surround the crime speak more to motive. So when this case is brought to court as well, the judge will want to know, well, why did this person commit their crime? What was their intention? And the evidence that's at the crime, or those clues at the scene, those clues will help to give that information.
What do you make of the handling of the forensic evidence in this case, in one side, and on the other hand, the witnesses who were there to speak of the evidence there? Talk us through that.
Great. All right. Yes. So there's eyewitness evidence, which is direct being involved in the crime scene, and there's also other circumstantial evidence. Now, the eyewitnesses that we are speaking to weren't actually at the crime. They didn't see firsthand what happened, whereas the only eyewitness we have is Oscar himself. Circumstantial evidence needs to be weighed up, and we need to see how reliable that evidence is and the evidential value of something like that. Eyewitness accounts, and it's been proven time and time again, are not as reliable as we'd like them to be. And it's very much just human nature, the way we function, that when we're asked to remember something that happened, our minds have already, in the time that's passed, filled in a lot of other information, or we've already forgotten a lot of that information. And we've seen it happen where eyewitnesses, in this trial specifically, have contradicted each other. They may not have done it intentionally, but they just haven't. They've just remembered or maybe thought they remembered something that they didn't hear or see, or otherwise have forgotten a lot. And unfortunately, when it comes to having 30-odd witnesses like this, such as the neighbours, it's very difficult to have all the stories gel, completely. There will be these discrepancies. Physical evidence, however, doesn't lie. It's at the crime scene. Only failure to detect it and collect it will make a difference. That is why, if it's disturbed at the crime scene, it's very important. Well, it's basically going to change the story around what happened, around those motives.
And there were allegations of some disturbances with regard to handling the crime scene.
There were, yes. Specifically, the one that I think is most important has to do with something as simple as an extension cord. This changed, or basically went against Oscar's story that he moved the fan in because the extension cord wasn't there, whereas if failure to have seen it could have resulted in a different stance by the police themselves. They would have maybe not have alleged that he didn't bring the fan in. Something as simple as that can just, really mess up a story. Yeah.
Okay, in about 30 seconds or so, just taking a look at the holistic picture now. Talk to us about the DNA Project, what it aims to do, and what this case has done to highlight that.
Right, yes. The DNA Project is a non-governmental organisation, non-profit organisation that basically promotes awareness around crime scenes, evidence preservation, crime scene protection, and specifically focusing on DNA evidence because it can become contaminated so easily as well. So the Oscar case has really helped us to highlight how important it is to preserve the crime scene because these small changes can make a big difference in the bigger picture.
Indeed, so, and as you've highlighted, eyewitnesses are sometimes very fallible. We are human after all, but the concrete evidence on the ground is very difficult to lie. It's very difficult to dispute. Well, let's leave it there for now. David Swanepoel is a trainer at DNA Project, giving us some analysis with regard to that particular evidence in the Oscar Pistorius trial. And as I said throughout the course of the show, every single angle that you can imagine we've got covered for you. Criselda Lewis continuing to keep an eye on the goings-on at the North Gauteng High Court. Will continue to cross throughout the course of the show. So stay right where you are. David, thank you again for your time. A quick ad break. Morning Live continues after this.